Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learnings. It's a first for me. I have got a lovely lady from New Zealand, Kyla Hamilton, who is Director of Operations at Lowe and Co. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm really, really grateful. We've been following each other on LinkedIn and you've been kind enough to say yes and become a guest. So thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Stephen. It's obviously sort of great fun to be here, and it's been great sort of watching what you've been doing, and obviously very active after the ARIC conference and during that as well, and listening to what your learnings were and how you caught up with a number of great sort of industry legends along the way, which was great to sort of hear their point of view and their takeaways from it as well. So, great handy snippets for all of us in the industry, so I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And I'm still buzzing from it. It's given me renewed energy. So I was there 6 years ago, and it's funny. I've been doing it for a long time, at least 35 years plus. And there was something I took away 6 years ago that made a massive, massive difference when it came to negotiating skills. And I was doing a training session yesterday, and I said, I wish I had this when I was an agent 30 odd years ago. And it's just a really simple thing. And I just share it before we start. Kyla, do you own your own home?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Stephen.
This could go very wrong. Did you buy it through an estate agent out there?
I did, yes.
And out of interest, would you have paid any more money on that property?
I would have, but I wasn't given the option to. The agent never came back to me and negotiated the price.
Okay, so that's really scary. Can I ask you how many more dollars would you have paid?
I definitely probably would have paid another 60,000 for the property, but I went in just over the sort of BEO, and I was waiting for the agent to come back to me to see if we were able to negotiate, because that's what we sort of promote in our agency. And when we got the call and said that we got the property, we looked at each other and went, right, wasn't expecting that, but thank you very much.
And that's scary. And that is really scary, so that's for the UK. Mind you, I don't know what it is in New Zealand, but I know Australian dollars is 1 in 2. So that's £30,000 that agent cost your seller. And that is scary. That's a life-changing amount, full stop. And just that very simple question, would you have paid more? Yesterday I had that on the training course, and people said, no, I wouldn't have paid any more. And then the ranges went from £2,000 to £20,000 more that they would have paid. And that's scary. So, I think you're already justifying the investment in your services just by asking that one question. So for me, that one thing in ARIC made a massive, massive difference. Anyway, this is about you, not about me. So thank you for sharing that and helping. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into agency in the first place.
Well, I was in the hotel industry with Accor Hotels for about 13 years, and I was quite an inquisitive mind in my early 20s. I was about 20 years old when I first got into the hotel sector, and I've always enjoyed jumping from department and department, learning about the business. Like if we did something at reception, at night audit, what do they do, which is causing the flow of the work processes and how they affect what happens onwards from there. So my husband at the time and I both worked in hotels, and we moved around quite a bit, probably every 2 years. And it did give me the opportunity to probably build my confidence, because I was always having to go for a new job and live in a new town. But it did give me the options of moving from department and department. So I went from front of house to reservations, front office management, to sales management, to functions management, and then into finance and accounts management as well. And when we first moved to New Zealand in 2006, he was at one hotel and I was obviously passing on my sort of resume to another hotel, and they had an issue with pillow talk, which is the first time you've ever come across it before. And so I thought, okay, well, that gives me an option. I wasn't really sort of annoyed, but I thought it was quite sort of small-minded. And I kind of fell into a real estate office and started working in real estate for the first time. And without sort of really worried, I didn't have an ego as such. I was quite happy to learn it from the ground up. So I started at reception and did advertising and reception work for an agency in Wellington. And I just wanted to learn every facet about it. So when I moved to Melbourne in Australia, after that, my boss at that real estate agency firm called up another office over there. He didn't even know who they were, but he knew that it was the area that I was going to live in. So he called up the owner and said, I've got this amazing person that you shouldn't let go through your fingertips, and set up a catch up with that person and myself. And I moved to Melbourne and went to the office, and then they just offered me a job that day. And I got back into advertising again, then did front office management within that firm as well. And we had about 3 to 4 receptionists at that firm. So I managed over those people, did the advertising and booklets and so on. It was a 4th generation company as well in Melbourne. So it was quite a big outfit. We opened up a second office, and I then sort of helped set that up and, did a lot of projects for the owners down there. And one of the agents that I used to work with at that agency had kept asking me to come and work for him at another agency. So I relented and went and did that. And then sure enough, 6 months later, I had to move again because of my husband's work at the time. We had to move back to Wellington in New Zealand. So that particular agent, I loved working with that agent because he made a comment to me at that time, and he was so super smart. And if I can pass on one great piece of advice for agents that are watching this, Marty mentioned to me, win the buyers, win the market. So his sole focus was on servicing the buyers, to the ends of the earth, and being a great agent towards them, because there was this, particular, buyers are a pain in the bum. Buyers are tie kickers. Buyers mess you around. Buyers are liars. And, buyers never call you back. And, it wasn't a great attitude I saw from agents at the time when I was working in Melbourne, because, buyers are your future business. Buyers are the ones that are also going to promote your services. And that's what happened with Marty. So we used to do that really well. And he would get referrals back from people who didn't end up buying through him, but they were friends of those buyers, and they wanted to sell their house through him as well. So he didn't have to advertise himself because his advert was his great service to people. And as we all know, real estate is really about connections and actually making people feel valued and that they're being heard. And he was amazing at that. So that was a great lesson working with him at that time, because I actually saw a huge benefit, and I saw a huge lead generation form that, other agents were just fobbing off and not really worrying about. It was just about trying to get leads, but doing it in the, the usual typical way. But real estate's about service. Real estate's about connections. And as much as the industry has tried to be turned upside down, with, outfits from Silicon Valley, you don't need an agent, you can just sell it online and things like that. Ultimately, people want someone that they can trust and that they can connect with and that they can talk to, and that they feel like they can, trust, one of the largest assets that they'll ever own in their lives. So, he was a great mentor in my life, and I still work with him to this day. We're great mates. And, it was just one of the first biggest lessons of real estate that, I saw it work extremely well. It was wonderful.
Okay, fantastic. There's loads to unpick there, but I'm just going to come back on what you said there at the end, because that was a real light bulb moment for me in ARIC, what you were talking about buyers. And I think it was a lady called Sarah Hackett that spoke about it. And then it just literally, there was a light bulb moment. It just clicked. Because I always talk about how if you give a seller a fantastic customer experience, in England or in the UK, I think we're far too transactional. We do the transaction, that's it. People go into witness protection. Those sellers, those buyers never get heard by, called from their agent, which is really, really scary. And then I say to people, look, the average UK fee is most probably 6,000 Aussie dollars here. But actually, if you give them a fantastic customer experience, maybe over the course of life, that client will end up being 60, 70, 80, whatever, $1,000. But then she said something about the buyers, and it just clicked to say, well, shouldn't the buyers be clients for life as well? Not every buyer is actually going to buy through you. They may buy through your competitors, but actually, if you give them an exceptional customer experience, they're going to remember you rather than the agent that they bought it through. They're going to tell their friends, their family, their colleagues or neighbours. And actually, when they do come back to sell, they're going to sell through you, not through the agent they bought it through. And I know that sounds really silly for somebody that's been doing it for 35 years. But it just, well, hold on a second. Let's make buyers clients for life as well as sellers for clients for life. And then it went, well, actually, you talked there about buyers, but what about the tenants? Your tenants of future maybe buyers, landlords, sellers as well. So, why are they treated so differently? Because they could become clients for life as well. And, so this got me thinking. So brilliant bit of advice by, was it Marty you said?
Yeah, Martin Rankin. So he runs Reside Real Estate down in Melbourne as well. And, it was just such a smart thing to say. But Stephen, you're so right in regards to what Sarah said as well. It's like lead generation isn't just the traditional lead generation that everyone seems to think it is. And it's not just putting a social media post up or doing a just listed flyer or mailbox drop or newsletter. That stuff's really boring to me now. Lead generation, as you mentioned, it's like servicing the tenant and servicing your buyer, because your buyer generates such huge word of mouth as well. And even if they didn't buy through you, but you had been showing them a number of properties, if you actually got them a great housewarming gift as well, and even though the agent they bought through did the same thing, but the fact that you went and did that, you're setting yourself up, for what, 5, 7, 10 years time when they actually need to upsize or do something else, and you've been servicing them through that time. But those little 1% of touch points are going to make the difference between you and any other agent that they might consider at that time, because they'll probably just call you anyway and not bother looking around for another agent, because they've just received genuine, service from you over the years without expecting something in return.
I love that. I love that. That's just a simple thing. So, I've been saying that if they, even if they, don't buy through you, send them a card, send them, congratulations. I hope that's going well. I wish you success in your new home. I hope it goes all smoothly. And if I can ever help in the future, nice thing. But you're taking it one step further with that housewarming, which I absolutely love.
And it's the same as open homes. You've got, for me, I say it to my team, it's like an open home is a community event that you get to hold the attention of all those groups coming to that property for half an hour or to an hour, depending on how long you run an open home for. But you've got the interest and it's your show day, so do it well. We sort of provide open home assistance to our agents so they can have someone signing people in at the door, so the agent can walk around the property talking and liaising with the buyers and providing great service to them. I don't want the agent being caught up at the front door, taking someone's name and number and telling them to take their shoes off. It's not proactive for the vendor, it's not proactive for the buyers, and it's not great for the agent and their business, and it's not great for the agency business as well. So, from an agency perspective, give the agents the tools or the services that they can use so then they look great on, open home day, because there's a multitude of people coming through as buyers, there's potential vendors shopping for a particular agent, or it could be just anybody off the street or a neighbour. But the fact is, they're going to know someone that's selling, or they could be selling in the upcoming years, and they'll remember the way that you conducted yourself and ran that open home as well.
100%. And something else that I really liked what you said, you talked about the 1% gains, and for me, it's, what can you do every day that makes you 1% better? So can you give me a few more examples of 1% gains that you've brought into Lowe and Co?
Oh, well, let's say when 2021 was a great rocking year, for most markets around the world. And when the market shifted and the market went down in 2022, the immediate thought is, how do we rebuild the toolbox for our agents? How do we actually, retrain them to a market that was, 5-8 years ago, that we need to make them look just as great in the market. There's less properties coming onto the market, but it's going to be a tougher battle winning over other agencies as well. So as an agency, we put more data in front of the agents as well. So weekly emails, it could be open home statistics, the amount of offers, the method of sale. We started connection calls, sessions with our team. We did stock list management. So we go through all the properties and we actually mark them a red, green and amber colour, depending on if they're actually, the vendor's motivated and wants to sell, and if it's priced right. Put the agents into small groups that, work particular areas so they could cross-reference buyers and give other agents advice. Is the property overpriced, or is there issues in regards to a retaining wall? Like, what advice would you give them? Get the agents talking more with each other. Make sure that they're in the office doing their connection calls. We've got a spinning wheel with prizes that they can spin and, give them morning tea and things like that. But get them motivated and get them re-energized about getting on the phone and actually doing good old-fashioned real estate, making the calls, giving them back all the open home data as well as an agency. So then we've got it all in front of them. They don't have to search for it, and they can go back and make all those calls for their, buyers that have been through properties as well. So it was about rebuilding the toolbox, giving them as much data that we possibly could that was relevant, and that could be market share data right down to the suburb or to the zone, could be to the agent and everything as well. But just pulling apart everything. At Lowe and Co, we run a full support agent sort of service to our agents. So every agent that joins, they get a PA straight away, because we don't believe agents should be doing the administration for listings. Agents don't enjoy it. It's something that's hugely time consuming. We calculate there's about 30 hours per listing that's taken up in administration. And the agents want to actually get out there and sell and make connections and do negotiations and bring about business and work in the community. Whereas, someone that's skilled in administration actually likes process, and they don't want to be out in front of all those people. So we provide that service to the agents so they can get out and spend more time doing it that way as well. So it's just those little, parts that free up the agent to get out there and make those calls.
Brilliant. Look, for me, I think the consumer definitely needs to be educated. High interest rates, high inflation, what does that mean to them? And giving your colleagues the data to help with that information. For them to be the local go-to agent, because you've been going to the micro level and helping everybody educate them makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, if we can put the tools in front of them and make it easy for them, they don't have to spend time searching for it. But, in their bag or on their laptop, they've got the information they can put readily in front of somebody and use that as well. And as you said, it's about being the local expert and having the local data and driving that downwards as much as possible. So it's our responsibility as an agency to make sure that, we're constantly trying to be innovative around that and go, right, that's current for now, but in 5 weeks' time, it may no longer be current. So let's swap it out and put something else in there as well and keep changing it up and thinking of ways.
And being relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to take you back to the start in hotels.
Yeah.
So my late wife worked in hotels. and I know she learned loads on customer service from there. And you had some lovely clients and some not so nice clients.
Yes.
So what lessons did you learn about being in the hotel industry, and how have you brought those into real estate?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, with Lowe and Co as such, my client is the agent. The agency is the home for agents to, bring about and work their business under our business umbrella as well. So if I service my client really well, which is the agents at the agency, they will service their clients very well. So that's how I think of it in regards to Lowe and Co, and how I've always worked with agents as well. Prior to Lowe and Co, I had my own business working out of a Ray White office in Wellington, where it was called Leaders Real Estate at the time. And I called myself Assisting Leaders, where I worked with up to 15 agents, and then I trained up some other people as well that could work with those agents as well. So it's servicing the client, which is the agent, so they could generate and bring about more business as well. One of the greatest things that's worked from hotels into real estate, and especially with external clients as well. So say if someone's disgruntled with the service that they've had from an agent, or, from the agency's perspective or something, is to shut up and let the person say what they need to say, and don't open your mouth until that person's run out of breath. And then just test the waters and go in calmly and do it that way. I remember one time on a Sunday morning working at a hotel in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales, where a client was upset with something that happened in the restaurant. And he came in, guns blazing, and demanding to speak to the manager. And I was the manager on duty that morning. And apparently I wasn't good enough because I was female as well. And he said, I don't want to talk to you. You're female. I want the manager. And I said, well, I am the manager and I'm the best you're going to get today. So if you've got an issue, you're best to probably talk to me about it so I can resolve it for you as well. And then I just took him to the side and just let him have his moment and vent out until he ran out of breath. And I have found over the years that it could be, a team member that's upset about something, or it could be an external client. But if you just shut up and you just listen and let them get out everything that's frustrating them, by the time that they're finished, they've actually, calmed down, and they're really, really grateful for you just sitting there and listening to them and trying to be understanding and empathetic at the same time. And that's served me well over the years, especially in hotels, as your wife would imagine as well. And it's served me well over the years in real estate as well, when dealing with clients that are, have had some form of dissatisfaction with something as well.
Okay, so importance of silence, listening skills. You talked about leadership, and you talked about building teams.
Yes.
How do you go and recruit these people? How do you find them? What are the skills that you were looking for? What do you think it takes to be a top performer in real estate?
Okay. Well, it depends if you're referring to agent or operations. So with agents, first and foremost, I mean, from Lowe and Co's perspective, when we first opened the doors in September 2015, we obviously wanted to grow, and we made a decision to take on experienced agents within the marketplace. So we had to work out what our point of difference was, and to make sure that we marketed that well to the agents. Being the only full support agency within Wellington was one of those attractions as well. And agents were very attracted to not having to do, the tiresome work of administration, and having, an agency that did weekly training. And we bring in not only our own trainers within the agency, but those that are well known around New Zealand and Australia as well, and from, overseas as well. So we recently had another agency owner from America, that shares, what they do in their business. And, we had another one earlier this year as well. We've had the likes of, the great Tom Parnos. We've worked with Michael Shergold quite a bit. But, we aim to get sort of other sort of industry sort of heads, in front of the team. So it's not just our opinion all the time as well. So we talk about sort of the great training that we do. We talk about the services and the support. We have a director of growth as well, which, helps performance manage the agents, but also talks about, personal growth with them as well. So, it's not just about numbers and figures all the time. It's actually caring about what's going on, in your world as well, to help sort of, help people deal with a stressful day or other stressful moments going on in their world. From an operations point of view, my theory has always been that I can train a skill, but I can't train an attitude. So I'm always looking, for the right attitudes to come into the business. Negativity for me, because I've always found in real estate there's an us against them culture. Agents can be difficult to work with. They're very up and down because they are riding an emotional roller coaster. They're dealing with clients that have got stressful situations going on that can be brought back into the office. 1 minute, they're happy. The next minute, there's all these demands on them, which they'll put demands onto the operations team as well. So it's just getting the right attitude in and who's able to be flexible around that type of environment. It's really important, and who can also have a sense of humour as well, which is definitely helpful in real estate. You've got to be able to laugh at the end of the day, and you've really got to be able to take the mickey out of yourself as well and not take yourself so seriously as well, because we do work as a large combined team. And, for me, egos can just sort of stay over there. I'm not really bothered with egos because I don't really care how big or how great or how many sales that you get. If you treat your team member, in a not so nice way or as a piece of dirt, to me, my respectability has just dropped to an all-time low with you, and you'll certainly know about it as well. So I think, you've talked about sort of things that stick with you. If you can build a great team, it changes everything. And I think that within operations and the support that they give to the agents, if we work, as a tight-knit team with all the same goal and vision and about the agents being our clients and so on, with a great attitude, it's a game changer for the agency and the agents as well. I've got agents that don't want their property coordinators ever move to other agents. Like, don't take them away from me. I love working with them. That's great. That's what I want to hear. And I've got the same back from those property coordinators as well. They go, oh, please don't take such and such off me. I love working with them as well. And then I've got agents that have been challenging because, they are extraordinarily busy. I've got agents, that are at the top of their game and, who have reached number one market share within Wellington as well. And it's a fast-paced, it's a busy environment, and it's just talking with those property coordinators and just managing the expectations and the stress levels as well, and sharing and talking about them about how to manage that better, but trying to get them to realise, their own opinions about how to manage it better, because that's where the learnings are. I mean, it's not my job to sit there and tell people what to do every day, but it is to extract from them what they think might be the best outcomes to do each day as well.
I love your director of growth.
Yes. And he's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing. Jason is such a knowledgeable, caring, but also quite motivating, and will have the hard conversation as well. So it's kind of like tipping in, but tipping out and everything. And Jason, Craig and myself work as a leadership team within the agency, and Craig's great at sort of describing us as the perfect human, all three of us together, because we all have a skill set in different areas, and we've been very good at, making sure that we know our laneways within the agency, but we do come together and we do collaborate a lot on the vision and the things that we want to achieve. Every time, as you mentioned with Eric, that, we pop off to a conference. I was recently at Principal Advance last week, and my mind just pops with a million ideas about what I can bring back into the agency. And if you're an agent or if you're in operations, you've got to get out and you've got to actually listen to other people. You've got to read, you've got to do podcasts, you've got to go to conferences, because, you're not going to be a great leader and you're not going to be great at your job if you don't actually have the will or the drive to actually learn and get out of your own space, because if you don't, you're just going to be as big as that space is, and that's it. You're never going to actually excel or do better. But again, that comes back to attitude, and you've got to have that sort of hunger to actually want to learn and want to do it better. I'm not perfect, but I sure as am trying to teach myself to be better at what I do, so then I can do that for my business and I can do that for my team, because I feel that's my responsibility, and I actually really enjoy that responsibility of being able to pop my brain in 20 different directions to give them some outcomes that might be possibly that works for them, might not work for everybody, but if it works for such and such over here, amazing.
So what was your biggest takeaway from Principal at Advance?
My biggest takeaway was, again, we talked a lot about AI, we talked a lot about tech, and the changing nature of real estate along it as well. And because Principal Advance is talking to other agency owners, and what I loved about it, especially with the table of people that I was sitting at, is that as much as it's great and as much as it's going to change a lot of things, it's still not going to change the actual day-to-day nature of real estate, which is about connections. And we all realise that as leaders. We just said it's still not going to take away picking up the phone or going to door knock or making that connection and doing follow-up in whatever format that is, because that's real estate and that's not going to change. We are going to get smarter and do things a lot more efficiently, and we're going to have great services. But ultimately, when the deal is going to get done and someone's going to decide to go with you, it's going to be based on the connection, be that in recruitment, be that in somebody wanting to sign a listing with you, be that, the connection between property coordinator and agent as well. That's still going to be, the link that makes the magic happen as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You talked about having a mentor. You talked about reading. You talked about podcasts. Any books, podcasts that you recommend for the listeners?
Oh, I listen to a lot. At the moment, I've just sort of been getting stuck into Tom Ferry's stuff quite a bit as well. I do enjoy it. It's something different to what I've usually listened to. But Indra Nooyi, who was the CEO of PepsiCo, was a great book, reading about her life coming from India, and the fact that she was a female working in a very male-dominated sort of world, and, just her struggles, but her self-belief, and also she was dealing with, a cultural difference as well. I found her book amazing, and it's not sort of a male-female thing, but as a female perspective, because, we deal with the struggle of trying to be, the perfect mother, the perfect business, leader, the perfect partner. And, we do feel like failures someday that, we've let the family down because we're doing a 14-hour day, at the office, because it's real estate. Sometimes something's going to happen. And when you're highly driven and you've got your young children in the office with you writing on the whiteboards, you know that you're being a bad mum, but you've got this goal that you want to achieve over here. Her book made you not feel bad about it. She made you feel like it's okay to, be a mum, be a wife, be, a business owner, be a leader, and pinpointed that you can't have it all. You just got to manage how you have it all as well, because for my generation, Generation X, came out of the women's lib of the 70s, you were told that you could have it all, but, really you can't. You've got to compromise quite a bit and put a lot of boundaries in place. So that was a great book to read. At the moment, I'm reading, Good to Great. It's been a classic, but I finally got my hands to read on it. And The Purple Cow with Seth Godin as well. Just finished that one. There was another one which was called Moments, and I'll get the full title, but Creating Moments. But it was a book about one percenters, which I love. And I always talk to my ops team about always think about the 1%ers that we can do. Always think about that in regards to the agent, but also ideas, because as much I want my operations team to think about, things that we can do from the agency perspective for our clients, the agents. And just because you might be a property coordinator, or you might be, accounts, payroll, and receivable and so on, it doesn't stop you from being able to have opinions and being able to voice, this is a great way we could do things, this is much more efficient, this would be great for the agents. I'm one brain here, but I've got all these amazing other brains around me, and I love collaborating, and I want my team to know that I welcome their thoughts and their opinions. And I'm well known for pulling up a dustbin next to someone's desk and sitting on that next to their chair and discussing the idea with them, because that's where the fun is for me. And I want them to know that I love their idea, or I think it's really interesting, or how can we hack at this a bit better and make it a great outcome as well. And, I like getting down into the ditches and working with them.
Brilliant. Well, look, one of the things that we used to have a staff suggestion scheme and just staff suggestion box. So we got everybody once a month. We would take them out of the office. We would give them some breakfast, whatever time of day it was. They would come up with all the suggestions. We would look at them. There would be, I suppose, at the time, spin the wheel if they were good. And then the one with the best one had to get a red letter day prize. And that worked, really, really well. And we got some exceptional ideas from people that come in from different businesses, thought maybe, this idea would work, and it was fantastic. So I'm very conscious of time, and I'm very grateful of your time. So thank you. So one final question. If you could tell me one thing, what would it be?
I thought about this question, and there's so many things that pop to mind as well, but I think mostly is don't live in fear, be that if you're in operations or as an agent. Get past the fear and don't live in it. I think people get caught up in overthinking too much and are either scared to pick up the phone, or scared to make the suggestion, or scared to put themselves out there on a platter. My theory is, don't wait for the platter to come to you. Put yourself out on the platter and actually, be confident in, what you want to offer. I find that sort of, agents might get, frozen in their heads about making calls because of the fear of rejection, and it's a fair fear as well. But, that's the business that we work in. That's the thing that we need to overcome. So picking up the phone, that call is only going to get better and better with every call that you make, and your skin is only going to get tougher and tougher every time you get that rejection, and you're going to get so much better every time that you actually make that call as well. And for operations, it's the same thing. It's don't wait for a leader to sit there and pay homage and recognise you and say what a wonderful job you're doing. Actually do the wonderful job and talk to your leaders and tell them, these are the, the things I think I'm doing well at, and the things that I want to do. And, push yourself and allow yourself to have initiative, and, don't wait for people to come to you. Actually have the confidence and get past the fear, because what ends up happening is that you sit around the water cooler festering and moaning and becoming, a kind of a negative sort of, influence around other people. But if you get past the fear of yourself and that, then it will actually start to flow a lot better for you as well. So I found that works well in my career, especially because when I was married to my husband with hotels, that I actually had to get up and start again every 2 years. So you just got to shake it off, start again, shake it off, start again, and just keep going and going and going. And the only person that's going to make you better is yourself. So don't wait for someone to make you better. It's actually you that's going to make you better.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your time. If people want to get hold of you, how do they do that, please?
Well, definitely you can find me on the Lowe and Co website, or you can just find me on LinkedIn as well. And I'm one of those people that always loves to talk about real estate and just talk about, how we do things, because when you talk to me, I get to learn from you as well. So there's a self-incentivized interest in me that actually enjoys doing that. So happy to, always take a call or email or something like that and just, talk about what we do.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for being a wonderful guest. Thank you for sharing loads and loads and loads of wisdom and advice. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Appreciate it. Please like it. Please share it. Please get other people to like it and share it and follow as well. Be incredibly grateful and look forward to seeing you on the next Lunchtime Learning. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.